I fell down once, I fell down twice, 7 ODs, I almost lost my life. I ain't going back, I ain't going back, I ain't going back.
Welcome back, kings and queens, to the GGH podcast. We are all on a journey in life to grow internally, glow externally, and heal mentally. Let's continue to do it together. So back in March, I was a vendor for a sobriety showcase held at the Brockton Art Gallery. I want to give a big shout out to Mike Walsh. Shout out to the Lone Wolf Security who held this amazing, impactful event for the Brockton community. Once a month, he hosts a sobriety showcase celebrating individuals who is or was an addict or impacted by an addict and is trying to find a better path in life. During this event, Mike collaborates with different vendors, entrepreneurs, and artists to create such an impactful event for the community. I met a lot of amazing people, and one of those I have the pleasure of here today with me. I'm honored to introduce public figure, motivational speaker, recovery consultant, community activist, a spiritual advisor, artist, and his favorite title, a father, mathematics. Welcome.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. Welcome to the GGH journey, and thank you for joining the GGH podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. So let's talk about the event. That was an impactful event. That was when I met you. Was that your first time hosting or going to that?
So that was my second time at that event. And Mike, the first time we shot a video there called Gratitude. Beautiful place to shoot it, museum, a lot of good visuals, the piano. So that was my second time. When I met you, that was my second time working with Mike that time. And it's good to have a platform where people can come and exhibit their arts, poetry, their little small businesses that they have. So shout out to Mike Smith.
Yes, definitely. I do apologize in school as well. No, but yes, it was a powerful event, and I met a lot of beautiful people. And just seeing and listening to stories, it was outstanding. Seeing where someone came from, of how dark, and just to see how bright they were during that event, it was super powerful. So GGH, as I said in the beginning, it stands for Grow, Glow, and Heal. And I created this platform when I was in a very dark space in my life. But if you do know me personally, I am always so positive, always so bubbly. Overall, pretty much, as I said, I feel like I don't look like what I go through. And a lot of people don't. So basically, I took what I was going through and I found my purpose. I took my pain and found my purpose in it. And as everyone, they have different struggles and different ways to approach their struggles. I dived into your story. I see that you are the epitome of grow, glow, heal, right? You're the epitome of growing internally, glowing externally, and healing mentally and not looking like what you've been through. You're the epitome of that. So I kind of want to read your introduction, the introduction that you have on your website. I want to introduce the people to you. Let me read that out. So this is motivated by mathematics.com. It states, Mathematics spent 15 winters and 14 summers in a state prison, went to 131 detox facilities, 8 stabilization programs, 4 halfway houses, and survived 7 overdoses. With personal experiences in addiction and recovery, prison and street culture, Mathematics shares practical steps toward change. He believes that he planted his pain to find his purpose, inspiring, uplifting, and being a service to others. Mathematics speaks at diverse settings around the Southeast region, including Faneuil Hall, Boston City Hall, dozens of schools, and more. He attends the School of Hard Knocks, Cambridge Ridge in Latin, Roxbury Community College, which is the BACE program, and has certificates from Boston College in small businesses and life skill training, He has grown his brand, Motivated by Math, into a movement for personal and social transformation. He currently works at Bedrock Recovery Center, ARC Behavioral Health, and Norfolk House of Correction. Now he volunteers his time and learning to people who are lost and struggle and severe as an example, hope, change, renovation, and brighten futures. So this is just a summary of mathematics. I kind of want you to go into a little bit of depth. Who is Math? Tell the people.
So I'm a selfish, self-centered egomaniac with inferiority complex. This suffers from self-centeredness because of only child syndrome. I grew up with just my mother, and a lot of my trauma comes from on the outside. So that's kind of been the story of my life. We've always presented as okay on the outside, or I like to say Gucci on the outside, but came out on the inside. And so I come from a good upbringing of externally, meaning that like I didn't get beat. I had camps. I had good clothes. I had a bed. I had a bedroom set. I did, a lot of my insecurities too came from I peed the bed until I was about 12 or 13. It kind of runs hereditary in my family. So I've always had this fear about what like people are going to think. This is the first time I ever talked about this, so you just brought that out. But because I always had this fear of like when friends spent the night, me spending the night at other people's houses, that always gave me like body image and insecurity complexes about myself. So then I used my strengths to really mask the brokenness and how I was feeling on the inside. But I was never really taught through family how to process emotions, how to process pain, how to process insecurity. Sometimes those things that we went through would just kind of like act like they didn't exist. And so that's, over time, that builds up and the pain gets greater and greater and greater. And then at 13 years old, when I finally did that first mind-altering substance, smoked that first cigarette, slept with that first girl, it was kind of like those are all three things that can take me out of myself, can take me out of my mental pain, my emotional pain, my spiritual disconnect, and then the physical, body image that I might feel insecure. Because I was chubby too growing up, and my father used to make fun of me and say like, he ain't tall enough, he ain't big enough. I wasn't athletic, I couldn't dunk, stuff like that. I had my strong points, but my whole life I've kind of been a follower. I wanted to do what everybody else is doing. I never wanted to exploit my personal greatness.
Wow. Now look at fast forward to your leader and you're a motivational speaker.
Yes.
Look how times changed. That's super cool. Yes. So I want to dive into a little bit of your upbringing. You said that you had a very good upbringing. Mm-hmm. So you think it was the environment, that 13-year-old, when you, regardless of that insecurity that you may have had, but that exposure at 13 years old, do you think that's what did it?
Well, I mean, I had a good external upbringing. I was uprooted from my house with my father at 2 years old because my father was abusive, and I was introduced to another gentleman that my mother was seeing that was, academic and he was an improvement for my pops, but he wasn't a big improvement, And so I didn't know then, but I know now that would become trauma when I met my real father at 11 years old. And so I was calling this other guy daddy my whole life. And then I started calling when I met my real father. So I'm 52 now, and I met my father when I was 11, and I've never called him daddy before. Wow. So that's like, that is that kind of trauma. Now, externally, Camp Massapog, Shoot Straight Camp, Upward Bound, going to camps, neighborhoods where there was fights and smoking cigarettes and drinking, but people weren't really like getting shot and stuff like that. So Cambridge kids, we're education, but we got a Boston, Brooklyn swag. Yes. So we're educated. We talk like are very articulate. We can hold the sentence. I know where to put commas and periods. I know how to cross my T's. But we have the swag. You got to watch us because we got the swag of a Brooklyn and a Boston dude. But we're educated, so we're dangerous. We're basically got private school minds with public school actions.
I love to say it. You could take me out the hood, but you can't take the hood out of me. There we go. Yeah. So the time frame was 13. That's a very sensitive age right there. Do you feel as if you went to that substance opposed to because you were craving that at home?
I have this spiritual malady now that I didn't know. There's a spiritual malady, which is a spiritual disconnect. That's kind of like I have a spiritual deficiency. And this spiritual malady causes me to be restless. Something's missing. irritable, easily annoyed, and then discontent, meaning nothing's ever good enough. And this is why I'm addicted to more. More is my enemy, and moderation is my friend. But when anything that makes me feel good, I don't understand moderation. All I understand is more, because I don't have the discipline to have the moderation. So yeah, I mean, a mother that's raising a child and has a demanding job that wants her to work 12 to 14. Back then, there wasn't any Zoom or working from home and all that type of stuff. So when you have a mother that has to work 14 hours a day, and then you have NWA coming out, and you have these rap groups coming out promoting this type of behavior. And so I was speaking yesterday how I had a girlfriend at 14, and she introduced me to some older kids. And I have no brothers and sisters, so they were doing cocaine and stuff like that. And that's kind of how I started getting into all this stuff at a young age. And I've seen it growing up, as far as like people smoking cigarettes, people drinking, people drinking beer, people smoking reefer and stuff like that. I didn't ever really see people like smoke. I knew what it was, cocaine and stuff. I know Richard Pryor smoked coke and caught on fire. Like, I understood, but I had never really seen it. And I know that whatever you see the people you love doing, then you tell yourself, if my mother, my brother, my cousin, my uncle's doing it, then it must be okay. You know what I mean? So that's normally how it works. And unfortunately, 1 out of 15 people have this allergy that they process drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, and anything that takes you out of yourself different than other people. So when I do something that makes me feel good, it transitions into a mental obsession. And a mental obsession is a persistent, reoccurring thought that doesn't respond to logic or reason. So I can't think logically and I can't think reasonably that, like, it might not be a good idea for me to do these things, because this obsession tells me no matter what, let's just keep doing it.
Yeah, it's funny because when it comes to drinking for me, which I try not to do it, my biggest thing, I always say, I hate not being in control of myself. Yes. So that's what it is, not being able to control your thoughts, your next action. I'm very big of plan A, B, and C. So if I can't even think of plan A, how am I going to get to C? So that is very important. So let's go back to, you said about spirituality. Let's go into some of your lyrics, like "Come in the Spirit." You said, actually, this was on one of your motivational videos. It was "Come in Spirit." Spirit will do something that the flesh can't. You was walking down Mass Ave and you were saying that you are not here for the hope of a drug dealer coming by, or here to look for the next kick or anything like that. You're here to empower your brothers and your sisters and to bring them back and give them that hope, that spirit, that spirituality. So just like you said, you want to focus on the beauty and not the storm. What was your epiphany? I know you said you started at 13. What was your epiphany, or when was it?
My epiphany started in 2016. I was coming up the stairs in Nashville Street, and a younger guy said to me, "What's up, OG?" And I was like, "OG," because I went to prison my first time at 17, and I realized then, I went and looked in the mirror, and I saw the grays. I saw myself kind of like aging a little bit, and I was like, "Wow, I really have spent my whole life doing this," and that was an epiphany for me. And also, just hitting rock bottom. Rock bottoms are mental, emotional, spiritual, and then physical rock bottoms too. And so I think the mental and the emotional rock bottoms can be more painful than the actual physical rock bottom or the loss of materialistic things. I'm in relationships. So my epiphany for me was just in Walpole this time. I used to put my mattress on the floor. People used to say, "Math, why are you putting your mattress on the floor every night?" I say, "Because in the morning I got no choice but to come up," right? So I used to start at the bottom, and then every morning I would rise to the top. And like at 40, almost 45, 46 years old, my air conditioner was sleeping with my mattress on the floor, and the toilet was metal. And I would lean my foot up against the toilet to make my body cool off for a little bit. And that was really, for me, like, that was a rock bottom. That was epiphany. It's time to do something different. And so sometimes you have to be stripped of everything so that you can really focus on what you need to focus on. And I'm one of those people that I have to be removed from society, giving with all the outside obscenities that can't distract me. And then I can actually sit there and focus on myself. So that was, and when I say come in spirit, the spirit can do stuff that the flesh can't. When I say I come in spirit, I'm coming in like you're seeing my higher self. You're seeing the God in me, because the creator is inside the created. So my physical flesh has a beginning and ending, but my spirit of God is eternal. So there's people that can listen to this podcast, never see me physically, but what I'm saying is resonating with their spirit. That's the spirit. They're not, people say, yo, Mav, I love you. You don't love me. You love the God in me.
Yes, that's so powerful. And when I have this platform and I say it, to me, myself, I'm always like, who am I? This little old self, like the things that I come up with. And all I'm doing is generally speaking my mind, speaking my heart, listening to the Holy Spirit. And it's just so inspiring to others. I never realized how powerful it is. So that's you right here. You found your purpose within your pain, and now you are a motivation to others to keep going.
That's why the spirit's holy, because the body sins, the spirit doesn't.
Yes, indeed. That is so powerful. Wow. Your gems go on for days. Like, I can stay on your page and it's just gems, and I'm like, I gotta jot that down. I gotta walk, not by sight but by word. I gotta jot that down so that keep them up. Because you just don't know who you're helping. And as I said, when I did this platform, there's a point that I even said, I'm like, who's listening to me? Why am I doing this? And then I get this random message like, I listen to you every morning when I go to work, and my drive is about 45 minutes. From the moment I start my drive, I will start it sad because I'm in traffic, I'm upset, I'm aggravated with all the things coming on. But by the words that I heard from you, all the gems that you drop, by the time I get to my job, I'm in such great spirits. I'm ready to work and tackle on whatever that comes. So you never know who you're helping. And just like when I met you that day, I was trying to network with a lot of people, but it was just such a gravitation of how genuine you were and how you're authentically using your purpose, your gifts to gravitate and help others. Even though that you were in a dark space. Yes, I was there. I understand where you're coming from. I don't have to do this. I can just go to work and take care of my kids, take care of my family, but you made it a purpose to help others.
Well, being of service to others is the rent you pay for your recovery. And if I don't pay rent in my house, I get thrown out. If I don't pay rent in my recovery, then I go back to Mass Ave as an addict. Because there's two choices. I can drive down Mass Ave and help people, or I can get out my car and jump out and get high and do drugs with people. So me being of service and always being other-centered versus self-centered, being God-centered versus self-centered is actually the key. I'm wired to be self-centered. That's why I have to work a program. And if you look at the acronym for program, a person relying on God, regularly applying mindfulness and meditation, and a person relying on gratitude, relaying a message. You know what I'm saying? So I have to work a program that's based on like meditation, mindfulness, and relaying a message to other people. Because and then there's 7 letters in the word message. The 7th letter in the alphabet is G. So my message is supposed to be about gratitude. My message is supposed to be about giving back. My message is supposed to be about how I connect with God. My message is supposed to be how I seek guidance, G word, through prayer and meditation. My message is supposed to be about the importance of writing a gratitude list. You know what I mean? So if I stay connected, like today's the 25th. So we're doing this podcast on the 25th, and the 25th letter in the alphabet is Y, right? So we're always saying, why God this, why God that? And if you answer that why, a lot of that exists within yourself. You need to ask yourself, why am I not doing these things? Why am I not staying disciplined? Why am I not staying focused? Why am I allowing myself to be in this toxic relationships? Why am I emotionally harboring everybody else's problems but not addressing my own? And if you begin to look at that why, God will give you the answers.
Wow. Did y'all hear that? Wow. When I tell you goosebumps, it is very true, because I made it upon myself to become obedient. Obedient to the Holy Spirit, obedient to everything that I do. And before, it was always worried about what others will say and how they'll react. Like, you know, especially with our past, this is what I used to do, and how are you going to take me serious because of my past? So now being obedient, just like you're saying, you're following regardless of what's going on. You're listening to that Holy Spirit, you're listening to your gifts, and you're just being persistent. I know I'm a big advocate of the difference between consistency and persistency. Being consistent, you're doing the same thing over every single day, but being persistent, you're doing the same thing over every single day regardless of the circumstances. So this is what you are doing. You're being persistent. And just the visual of having your mattress on the ground, like, hey, I woke up. I went to sleep on the ground, but I'm getting up. I don't care how I get up. I might get up with crust in my eye. I might get up with, you know, not a fresh breath, but I'm going to get up regardless of what I'm going through. That message right there is powerful. And I just can't thank you enough for what you're doing for the community, what you're doing for our brothers and sisters, because you can see someone that don't look like you going through something, but he got through it. But when you see someone that looks like you, that came from somewhere like you, that prevailed, that is growing, glowing, and healing, that right there, I feel like that's the purpose that's being fulfilled. Yeah, that's powerful right there. So on one of your songs, you said, take care of your mental health, take time to express yourself, stop caring of everybody else, it's time to love yourself. I know you said that you're rock bottom, spiritually, emotionally, even physically, that's when was your epiphany. But what made you put yourself first?
Because I'm also not just a recovering addict, I'm also a recovering people pleaser. And so, you know, I normally put myself first in a selfish way to get things, but now I have to put myself first mentally, emotionally, spiritually, through ritual and routine so that I can give things. So there's a difference between being selfish. Like the root of my problem is selfishness and self-centeredness. That's the root of the problem with my disease. But that's all based off of what I can get. But now if I prioritize my mental health, and I'm like the other day, I don't want to act like I always know this. I've been reading a book, but I'm a pathological altruist, meaning that like I do take care of people, and it keeps me away from focusing on myself, and I need to become a little bit more of a healthy altruist, practice healthy altruism versus pathological. And so pathological is when like I'm always doing this stuff from other people, but it's very difficult for me to continue and keep it up because I'm not really taking enough time to pour into myself. So I work this ritual, and I work this routine on a daily basis that basically, by me being able to have rituals and have routines that I'm consistent with, I'm able to kind of pour into myself, give into myself. Some days I'm doing it just to be doing it. Some days I'm doing it like just to kind of like go through the motions and keep my streaks. Then there's other days like this morning where I have a lot of intention, and I got the aromatherapy, I got the candle. I'm really present every single day. But if I do it with good intention, 325 out of 365, I'm gonna win that year.
Yes, you will.
Right?
Indeed.
There can be 40 mornings where I'm just going through the motions to get it done, or just to check it off, or to just get my streak. Or I might be doing it like abusing it, like saying, let me do this because then when I go over here, it'll make me a better. But like not really doing it to just have good intentions for myself, but just using it because let me do it so that when I go somewhere, I'll be able to speak well, or if I'll feel as though that because I did this, it's going to give me an advantage over there. That's really not what I'm supposed to be doing my ritual and routine for. You know, it says in the Bible, and I know you're familiar with the Bible, be still and know that I am God, right? So through prayer, meditation, and stillness, that's how I really get to tap into my godliness.
Wow, that's beautiful. And that's what I'm saying, obedience, being still and being obedient is very important. But when you were saying the pathological altering, right, in that, it's
altruism.
Altruism.
So there's healthy altruism and pathological altruism. And pathological altruism is when like you're a very altruistic and give back person, but you give back to everybody 70% and you give back to yourself 30%. A healthy altruist is someone that gives to other people 50%, but then 100%, but they also give to themselves 100%.
100 as well.
Kind of like that analogy.
Yeah. So when I brought that back up because I recently just started seeing my therapist again, and she was telling me, she was like, so Stephanie, I was telling her about the podcast. She's like, so you're doing a podcast again. So you love to give out wisdom, but you don't like to take it for yourself. And I was just like, oh, thanks for stabbing me. Like, I really appreciate that. And then when you come and say that, it brings me back to my former therapist. When she told me, she said, the reason why you do that, you said pathological altruism. The reason why you do that is because you are afraid to attack what you're going through. So you just go help others so that you don't face what you're going through. But so once you're faced with what you're going through, you're able to accept it, acknowledge it, and then process it to win the battle.
So that's kind of like, there's also like a spiritual ego, and you can abuse spirituality and positive things. So when I'm sitting there taking care of everybody else's needs but not taking care of my own, that's people pleasing. That's not really a healthy movement. It's people pleasing, and people pleasing is actually a form of manipulation. Meaning that I'm going to people please and cater to people and take care of everybody's needs because I want them to respond and react in this particular way. So I use people pleasing to get them to kind of like manipulate. Like, this is an altruistic movement, what you're doing here. It's a movement that's based on giving back, giving people a healthy space, letting them come, grow.
Glow and heal.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's, it's really, this is an altruistic movement, what you're doing here.
Wow, thank you. I love to learn. I'm like a sponge, so just having that outlook, I'm very big on perspective because I can wake up very sad, wake up very angry, but it's my perspective of how I'm going to take on that day. So having that perspective is for sure going to alter me. I appreciate that.
Well, 10 pages out of a book a day keeps the mental ignorance away.
Who?
So if you read 10 pages out of a book a day, that's 3,650 pages a year.
Wow.
So the more you know, the more you grow.
Yes.
So when I'm functioning off a high school diploma from 1989, but I'm going to outwork mentally the average person that might have a degree because while they're sleeping, I'm up at 5:30 in the morning reading. I got an SAT book in my room and reading really enhances your vocabulary, and it gives you conversation pieces when you go amongst people to speak with,
Yeah, that's very powerful. I feel like knowledge is power and applied knowledge is freedom, is what I love to say. So knowledge is power, and I love to obtain knowledge in every aspect. I'm a very cultural person as well, so I love to learn the culture of wherever vicinity, wherever environment I enter, I want to learn and understand and grow from there. So I just try to take knowledge, but once I go home, I study it, and then I apply it, and then I feel like that's when I'm reaching to my freedom. I'm reaching to the sense of happiness. So I want you to give us, the people, a little bit about your motivation, because for me or for whoever's listening, it's hard. Every day is hard, especially in this economy nowadays. Let's not even talk about that because the economy is crazy right now. But I feel like every day, even with the mental health crisis going on right now, it's getting younger and younger. So being told that climb that mountain until you get to the top. But in reality, the top of one mountain is the bottom of the next. What motivates you and what pushes you to continuously climb, regardless if you're at the bottom or the top?
I mean, the pain, there's two pains. There's the pain of discipline, and then there's the pain of regret. And I don't really like to say the motivation, because motivation is like feelings. It's fleeting. It comes and goes. Like around November, December, everybody's going to be motivated to do their New Year's resolutions.
Yes.
And then
Go
if
to
I
the
go
gym.
back to those same people in February, none of those resolutions are really being met, or they were only met for a couple of weeks. And then you have a whole bunch of people that have these Planet Fitness memberships that they've never even used. So it's really, the discipline is doing things that you don't want to do, but acting like you love it. And so the discipline, the first letter in discipline is D, is because it gives me a defense, right? It gives me a defense against distractions. It gives me a defense against drinks, and it gives me a defense against drugs, and it gives me a defense against drug dealing. You know what I mean? So the pain of discipline only hurts like the first 5 or 10 minutes I'm up, but then I'm always so grateful that I went to the gym, I did my meditation, I did my cold water therapy, I wrote my gratitude list, I did my pages out of a book, and I do my meditation. Your discipline is what keeps you away from the depression, because Jim Carrey said that the word depression means that you need a deep rest from the character you're playing. You know what I mean? So the reason why you're depressed is because you're playing a particular character, and that character gets played because you're not really doing who you are. You're doing what other people want you to do so that you can fit in versus stand out. And then that's why you need a rest. You're getting depressed because, you know, for me, it just turns into like eating, drinking, drugs, behaviors, all these different things that I can get involved in that can take me out of that depression.
Get you out of that funk. Just like Jim Carrey had said, I'm reading a book called Mastering Your Emotions, and it states that emotions are literally energy in motion. So you are not that energy. You are not that sadness. You are not that depressed. You are not, that's just emotion. You're supposed to feel it and release it. But if you allow it to settle and resonate within you, that's who you are. But if you allow that energy to be felt in motion and release it, you are who you are, not the emotion. So that's, putting that together, that's super powerful. I'm hoping that we're dropping as much gems. I hope you guys are noting.
It's okay for you to become, like, it's okay for you to like feel a feeling, but it's not okay for you to become them.
Exactly.
So it's okay to like go through the feeling, but if you don't have a healthy pattern to deal with those feelings, then what happens is they turn into the emotion. So the emotion is the effect of the feeling.
Yes.
It's the energy that comes from the feeling. So if you have healthy rituals and routines and grounding techniques to deal with the feelings, then it doesn't turn into negative emotions.
Yeah.
You know, but it still can be painful, but you can get through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And how can you heal if you don't feel? So if you don't feel that pain, how are you going to heal from that pain? So that's very powerful right there.
You heal if you don't feel.
Yeah.
Add that to the,
Yeah, right there. It's a bar right there. So let's get back into tapping into you, because your story, we can literally sit and talk for hours and we won't even cover the surface of your story. Because you have been through a lot, but you are so resilient, you are so powerful, you are so motivated, and that's why you created Motivated by Math. Right? So you're here to motivate others. So I want to get into more about you. So you grew up in Boston?
I grew up in Cambridge, and then I've been hanging in Boston since like the mid-'80s.
Okay.
I grew up in Cambridge, Mass. I've been hanging out in Boston, living in Boston since the mid-'80s. Then did a lot of time upstate as well.
Upstate?
Been in a lot of programs in the Boston area.
Okay.
Stuff like that, yeah.
But it was never outside of Massachusetts. It was all within Massachusetts.
Yeah. I always lived in Mass.
Okay. So we bleed green out here. 617, we bleed green out here. Sorry for the 508s. I'm just joking. All right. So I wanted to, as I was diving in a little bit about your history, I see that you have been working with the New Democracy Coalition for the past 5 years. Talk a little bit about that.
So I do a lot of poetry and give back work with the New Democracy Coalition. It started off trying to get the name of Faneuil Hall changed. Peter Faneuil was a slave owner, and there's no black-owned businesses inside of Faneuil Hall. So when you go to Faneuil Hall, you'll see a lot of black people or people of color serving the food, cleaning the bathrooms, catering as far as like to people that come in to do service, as far as like folding shirts inside of stores and doing the sales in stores and stuff like that. But there's not one black-owned business in Faneuil Hall. So when he asked me to come on and try to get the name of Faneuil Hall changed, and he asked me to use what I had to say through poetry and spoken word, I've been working with Kevin now for about 4 or 5 years. And now there's a reparations movement, and it's not just looking for reparations from the city of Boston, but it's also about us giving reparations to each other and us also seeking reparations to ourselves.
Yes,
because inside the word reparations, you see the word repair, right?
And we all
so
repair.
before you get that money, if you don't repair yourself, that money that you get from the government is going to turn into buying more drugs. if you don't repair yourself before that money comes from the government, that's just going to be a whole bunch of people of color, right, going out and buying drugs with that money. Kind of like COVID. Remember when COVID hit? And everybody was balling, and there was these pyramids that you could put your money in. And
man, oh man,
everybody was shooting a rap video every week, right? But now all of a sudden, all that money's gone. And
what happened to Forex?
And now the detoxes are flooded. Right?
Yes.
The overdose rate is through the roof.
Yes.
Everybody's depressed. You can't get a therapist. You can't get this. You can't. There's a waiting list for everything. So really, it's working with Kevin now. It's just about like helping repair my community and give back. I mean, I sold drugs in my community. I hurt the woman in my community. I was a bad example, power example for the youth of my community. So now, anytime someone asks me to step up, to give back to the community, I do my best to step up and do what I'm supposed to. In the dictionary, the word give comes before receive.
Yes.
So as long as I follow that blueprint, my life just seems to get a little bit better.
Yes, we should always have our hands open to give rather than hands open to receive. That is powerful. I'm just having goosebumps. I don't know if you can see literally just the work that you're doing. And this is our first visual podcast. So for you to say you were, 40, I'm sorry, what did you say, 42?
52. Yeah, I'll be 52.
I was about to say he could whisper that, but man, this is the first visual podcast, so you can actually see. That's powerful. So not only did you turn your life around, because I don't want to take away from that. I don't want to say the wrong thing, because I was going to say most addicts, I feel like they age before, Not only did you heal, now you're out there being powerful and not even looking at age. That right there, that's the work of God right there. That's powerful. So to continue, I was on getting to know mathematics. So for the Fleet DJ team conference call, right? I believe they do that once a month.
Yep, they do that. I did that through shout out DJ Drew, and it was powerful because they told me that they didn't say this on the show, but they told me that most people come on there and trying to portray the rap image and being ratchet and acting tough and gangster or whatever, and I kind of went on that show, the DJ Zoom, and I came with a completely different angle, a completely different perspective. There was a lot of positive feedback, and the energy was really there, and it was just a good experience for me. I'm not really trying to be a rapper or anything like that. I just like to have those things available so that when I go into the schools, the Job Corps, and go to particular places, that I can also speak, but also provide some entertainment for people as well.
Yeah, to have to grasp different people, because you work with youth and you work with older people, so you're just trying to find the median. Yeah, that's beautiful.
But when I go into a school and I put a video on and they get to see it, then they automatically it bridges the age gap. Yep. They're like, oh, okay, he's kind of like, he's cool, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it kind of bridges the age gap. And then sometimes, I'm always shooting a video for each school I go to. I create a custom video for the school. So when we're there and we're performing and they get their own custom video and it's up on YouTube. And I kind of like to call it a keepsake, for them as well.
Yeah, for memories to go back. That's super cool. So shout out to the Fleet DJ team conference call. On there, actually, you stated that people don't really support you where you're from because you're not a traditional rapper and you don't make the traditional music like you said earlier, but you are just trying to get to the right people. How do you go about making your music? Is it beat first, music first, lyrics first? Because I'm a lyrical girl, and I know there's a lot of people don't like to resonate on that, but lyrics are very important to me because it's a purpose. It's a reason. There's a story behind it. There's a message behind it. So when it comes to you making music, do you have to have an event that occurred to write it down? Do you have to listen to the beat first? How does it go for you?
So a lot of that came from when I listened to, like, if I listen to Rick Ross's Every Day We Hustling, but then I flip it and I say, every day recovering, every day recovering.
I see, I like that.
And stuff like that. So I can take something that I listened to growing up in the negative and then now flip it for the positive. But I'm always memorizing poetry because you never know when the next opportunity is going to come. And I normally listen to a song like I just created something. I heard the beat came through and then it just resonated with me, like fell down once, I fell down twice, 7 ODs. I almost lost my life. I ain't going back. I ain't going back. So I'll hear a beat, and then me and my daughter will be in the car, and all of a sudden I'll start, and I'll give her the look. Is that good? And she'll be like, yeah. We do our little pinky thing. And then 2 months later, we're in the studio.
That's powerful.
So, yeah, so it's all just what comes from my heart. I want to be the first, kind of like DJ Khaled, to sell 1 million records without using the N-word and swearing.
I love that. I love that.
So that's what my goal is, and I want everybody to have. I want to create a platform when people want to express who they are and not who the rap industry or the poetry or spoken word industry tells them to be. I want them to have a platform that they can come and see good numbers. Yeah. But the support really is kind of like that I was talking about, is more like when you're at the bottom, everybody's encouraging you. Then when you stop making some noise, people don't they start pressing love and like. They start watching you, right? Because now there's a little bit of envy and jealousy because of the discipline. I'm doing the same thing you can do, but you're choosing to drink, drug, and watch TV. After this NBA playoffs, my TV won't come on for 3 months.
That's how it goes,
right?
Yeah.
Why am I going to watch? People say, you don't be watching Power. I'm trying to create my own show. I want 50 to watch my joint.
There you go.
I can't create my own show if I'm consumed. I got caught up in Ozark for a couple of weeks, man, that foolishness. I turned it on. I was watching it around the clock, and it's just more like in the middle, people stop watching you, but they stop liking and they stop supporting. And then once you make it, everybody's going to say, Matt, oh, that's my man.
Yeah.
But they ain't never bought a shirt from me. They ain't been pressing love and likes. If I go to their Facebook page, they ain't never shared none of my content. They can't even show up to any of my events, and they're free. But if Jada Kiss is coming, if there's a Celtics, they'll be at all that stuff that costs them money, but can't even support the movement. But then they'll be telling everybody that I'm their man and that they love me. So it's really kind of like hard to get support where you're from. I get more love from strangers than people that I actually know from the streets, from prison, and that I grew up with and had interactions with. Shout out to strangers.
Yeah, that's funny because when I created this podcast, we are in 7 countries right now, and my biggest listening audience is in Germany. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Germany is my largest audience, and I don't think I know any German people. And that's the crazy part about it. So the support that you have is not from home. It's not always from home. You would love it.
Yes.
I feel like the drive would be a lot deeper if we did get it from home. I feel like we would have been like, man, we got our people supporting us. All right, let's keep going. But I feel like because we don't have that support, it gives us a different type of drive. Like, I personally, this is just for me personally. I don't do it for the likes. I don't do it for the. I just want to help one person. As like I was telling with what happened to my husband, a lot of his doctors, because I'm in the medical field, a lot of them wanted me to come work for them. Like, hey, come help my neuro patient rehabilitate the way you helped your husband. And I'm just like, my goodness, if I can help one person the way that I helped him, my life is fulfilled. So creating this platform, those people that in Germany that I'm reaching out to will never know me or meet me a day in their lives, but I help them go on to the next day.
Yes.
That right there to me is super powerful. It's super powerful. So that's what you're doing as well. But I want to let's get into. Do you remember that video when that stud got arrested and she said she didn't commit a crime because she was legally blind, and she was like, POP, hold it down. Do you remember that video? Oh, okay. So she I think it was like she robbed something or someone like that, and the police came to her, arrested her, and then she goes, I'm legally blind. POP, hold it down. Right. So when she spelled POP, she was pretty much saying pop, like her pops. Hold it down. And that was a classic. But you took POP, you switched it up. Your POP is a little bit different. You did a motivational video and you gave us the POP of dropping jewels. How you can make your life pop. Process over pleasure, principle over pleasure, and patience over pleasure. Break that down for us.
I mean, pleasure's always is what I'll do. I want to feel good in the moment. But patience takes discipline. Trust in the process takes discipline. Prayer takes discipline. All those things actually take discipline. So those three things on the left side, the three things are actually spiritual principles. And the one thing, the pleasure, is something that's not a spiritual principle. It's just going to feed my id, my lower desires. And it's going to make me feel good, but that feel good is fleeting. It's going to wear off. but there's an abundance of spiritual actions, and there's also an abundance of spiritual love and connection. So if you apply the prayer, the process, the principles, like into your life's going to get a lot better long term than just living for the pop of the pleasure.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because it's fleeting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can, I've been chasing pleasure as far back as I can remember. First it was from sugar, then it came into video games, then at 13 it came through drugs, alcohol, women, external things, and the pleasure only lasts for so long because there's not enough of it. Anything tangible, there's just not enough to actually feed me enough, and then this is why I'm addicted to more. And I'm always reaching. But actually spiritual principles, like I can't get on Amazon and say I want to order 2 boxes of love. I can't get on Amazon or go into Kohl's and say, let me go in here and get 2 boxes of patience. Those are actually things that I have to earn. They're spiritual principles I have to earn. And through earning them, I'm actually also building my self-esteem. And that's why I feel good about life versus seeking that pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus,
P.O.P.
the first letter in pleasure is P, because pleasure eventually comes with pain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when you chase that pleasure, it can also put you in a P word, prison.
Yes.
And the prison just doesn't have to be handcuffs. It can be a mental, emotional, and spiritual prison that you put yourself in, always looking to seek that pleasure.
Yeah. When you brought up prison as well, I know you were incarcerated a few times. Do you want to give a timeline of that, just to let people know where you came from and where you at now?
So I was incarcerated from 17 to almost 21, and then from 23 to almost 29, then from 35 to 38, and then from 45 to almost 47. So I did have a few stints when I was able to stay out, but even though I was out of the physical prison, I was in the mental prison of drugs and alcohol and addiction. So I've been in a prison basically from 13 to 46 years old, until I actually took some action and began to free myself from the mental obsession. If you look at freedom, the DOM, you're free from the drugs, the drink, the O, the obsession or others' opinions, and then the M, the materialistic things and chasing the money. So when I actually sit there and get some freedom, I need freedom from those things, because I have a mind that's wired around what other people think of me, what material thing can I get next, so that it can mask my, that what's really going on in my life. So I really just needed some freedom from that.
That's right there. Just your whole story in general is just so powerful. But the way that you keep pushing throughout, no matter what, because I'm sorry, the last age was 47, you said?
Yes.
The last incarceration?
I came home with that. I went in at 45. I came home in November. I think I was 46.
Wow. And how old were your children when you came home?
Sky, I think, was 4. My oldest daughter was about 28. Justice, my son Justice, he was probably about 14 or 13. And then I have another daughter, Diva, that I'm not allowed to see. Yeah, her mother just doesn't think that it's important for me to be in her life. She was probably about 11 or 12 as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's hard to come home.
I chose to do drugs. I chose to be incarcerated, and I wasn't there. So I didn't recover when anybody asked me to. So I can't expect people to forgive me when I want them to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the same way it took patience and people had patience with me to recover, I also have to have patience with other people's forgiveness as well.
That is very true. You did accountability. Now you have to have patience and wait until they can heal to let you heal.
Yes.
Wow, that's powerful. Well, Mathematics, I cannot thank you enough for being on our platform. But before I even get into the conclusion, I have to let the world know, and the goosebumps that I received from hearing on your last video, or at least one of your last videos. So when I saw this video, you said, so I went from selling drugs on the block to being on a cell block to smoking crack rock to then working at Bedrock But this Saturday, I'm doing a TED Talk.
Yeah.
That right there was powerful, man. Break it down to me, because when I tell you the goosebumps that I received seeing the joy in your face going onto that stage, and then that dap you gave you, I'm not sure who it was at the end.
Yeah.
That right there, I called my sister and I'm like, sis, look at this, look at this. It was just, it was like the kid coming out. It was powerful. I want to hear your intake on it.
I mean, for me, it was just to go from selling drugs on the block down the port to being on cell blocks upstate to then transitioning from Nino Brown into a Pookie, smoking crack rock, to then after being on Mass Ave, working, helping change lives while working at Bedrock and being one of the most sought after, I'm saying this humbly, group facilitators in the state now, to doing a TED Talk. TED Talk is like, you know, the NFL. It's like the Super Bowl for motivational speaking. And I feel as though that what I was speaking about on the Flea DJs, wanting to get my message out on a bigger volume and a higher platform, because the message is there. It's just getting it out on a higher volume. And actually, a lot of the world just needs to see that there are people that can go from the bottom and then rise to the top. But you have to be willing to put in the work. This is all work. And I'm not talking about work on the block. I'm not talking about work in Planet Fitness. I'm not talking about work in the bedroom. This is healing work. This is shadow work. This is discipline work. This is reading work. This is amends work. This is giving back work. And it's actually doing a lot of holistic work, spiritual or religious, whatever works for you. But that's the real work that has to be done in order for you to go from selling drugs on the block to doing the TED Talk. You have to be disciplined, and you just have to be driven. And the power of prayer works too. I'm not going to sit here and act like that, I did this all on my own, because the power of prayer works. And like I said earlier, it says in the Bible that we were created in God's image and likeness. So when I'm selling drugs on the block, that's not presenting God's image and likeness. But when I'm doing TED Talks, and for what I'm talking about, now you're seeing God's image and likeness. You're seeing my higher self shine through. Before we close too, because this is exactly what you're doing, I want to make sure I give you a shirt. It says real people, heal people. And then it has the brand on the back.
MVM.
And I know that you're a real person, because you're actually putting people in a position to heal.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, man.
I hope you enjoy it and wear it with pride.
Yes, I will definitely, and I'm so grateful for it. There's a few gems that I want to recap, especially with this shirt. That's powerful. So we said, heal. How can you heal if you don't feel? So I always say I'm an advocate of heal people see differently. So how can we heal if we don't feel? I love this one. Real people heal people, because that's what we're all about. We're all about empowering, healing, growing, glowing, and healing.
Yes.
We also dropped the gem about spirit. The spirit gem, where
Spirit can do things that the
flesh
can.
cannot.
Yes.
Yeah. So I just wanted to drop a few of these things, because it was powerful for me when I was just diving into who mathematics is. And as I said, we barely even touched the surface, you guys. So please definitely check out Motivated by Math, so that you can, motivatedbymath.com, so that you can check out his story, get into what he does, who he is, and why he does it, his purpose. I want you to conclude with some shout outs. Who do you want to shout out? Your Instagram, the next work you're going to do. Where's math going to be in the next 5 years? Come on, let the world know.
So I want to give a shout out to all the people that are struggling, all those people on Mass Ave, all those people that are out there helping others. I want to give a shout out to my mother, to my man Exit Fame. We're doing a lot of work together. I can be reached at motivatedbymathematics.com. Where I'll be in the next 5 years is being good to others, but also good to myself. I'll be trying my best to give back to others and realize that it's process over outcome. The most profound people to ever walk the planet are the most well-known people: Gandhi, Jesus, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa. None of these people died financially rich, but they all died spiritually rich, and they're still very well known because of the way that they gave back to other people. And I would just like to give a shout out to everybody that's taking the time to love themselves, because that's not easy to do. You know, for me, it's easier for me to hate myself, judge myself, and criticize myself than it is to actually love myself, and that actually takes some work. So anybody that's taking the time to every day sit down and do a kind act for themselves, you know, shout out to them too. And I can also be reached on all TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Motivated by Mathematics, on all those platforms. And my next event that I have coming up next is May 30th. I will be at UMass Dartmouth doing the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. Then June 7th, I'll be at Taunton School doing the 10th and 11th graders. Then in New Bedford, June 8th. A few other things coming up too. I got something going this week where I'm going to go back on Calendar Street. There's a house that has a lot of the people that were placed there from Mass Ave. I'm going to speak to them this Wednesday at 5 o'clock. I don't know if that's open to the public, but I have a lot of things. When I open up my calendar book, it's normally full.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
That's powerful. Well, I cannot thank you enough for joining the GGH platform, for joining the GGH journey. I want to give the big shout outs to everyone that is on the journey, whoever is healing, growing internally, growing externally, and healing mentally. Shout out to you guys. I want to give a big shout out to anyone that's just listening, because you're believing in me, you're believing in math, you're just believing in the vision. So I want to thank you for that. Check out my website, gghttogether.com, if you want to purchase any of your turmeric soaps or scrubs. And also you can find... Yes, yeah, I got you. I'll take care of you, definitely. I also have some of my podcast links on there as well. So if you ever want to go directly, whatever calls your name that day, just click on the link. I will be posting up mathematics, and this is our first visual podcast. So please, if you're a visual person, tune in, like, subscribe. If you are an audio person, it'll still be available audio. So just check that out. Once again, I cannot thank you guys enough. I cannot thank you, Mathematics, enough for joining the GGH platform. We are all on a journey in life to grow internally, glow externally, and heal mentally. Let's continuously do it together. Thank you. Be blessed.
Thank you for having me. Peace.